Behold, everybody, the wonderful and mesmeric string work of Tekking. Ha-ha! Yeah, that's my specialty right there. I call it a bunch of strings between two of my hands. And just like that, boom, it's gone. Alright, you ever notice sometimes I do stuff that's just really stupid? I get that inclination from time to time, but, you know, it fades after a few seconds, and it's gone. Alright, today's video is going to be all about VIVRE card number 9. And you may notice the 9 here looks a little bit more like a G, and that's because Lao G is going to be in this pack, so we need as many G's as possible. Amp up the G-Force! I don't care what comment you leave below, but it has to include a G somewhere, okay? I don't even know if your alphabet even has a G. It has to include a G, alright? So this, of course, comes to us from, what was his name again? The, Lord of the Great Castle Town and the Gilden Fortress, Master of, the 12 Kingdoms, and first of his name, Lord Artur Sama, God Emperor, Headmaster of Hogwarts, and the Slayer of the Tarrasque. Yes, that's, of course, the title of the man we're doing this time. So this is, of course, all about the Doflamingo family. Just about the Doflamingo family. Well, no, there's Tangent. Hold on, I'm just gonna cover this up here really quick. Tangent's in here too, and Jaguar D Sol. He's really interesting. But we also got Olvia and a little bit about Conjuro. Yeah, those characters. Those are fun characters. We could talk about them, but mostly the Doflamingo family. Now, you guys might remember back at the very first video I did this year was a huge video on the Doflamingo family. All right, and the emphasis on huge. That video was like a really long project. Basically, like, took me all day to film and edit the thing. So I give a cautionary warning to anybody that is on YouTube that wants to talk about One Piece, and if you're maybe thinking about making a video on the Doflamingo family, I give you some advice. Perhaps break that up into maybe 2 or 3 videos if you're trying to cover the entire family. Because that's like 17 characters, and you really don't want to just gloss over ones. You don't want to just be like, oh yeah, Buffalo, he can fly. Alright, moving on to the baby 5. You know, you don't want to do that. You want to talk a little bit about each one. It took like 2-something hours to film, and I edited it down, but it just took forever. So, yeah, we're not going to go into a crazy amount of detail on every single character because of that video I made, but, you know, we got some new information. But before we get into Doflamingo, we also have the obligatory ages and heights and just some things that were revealed that we didn't know about beforehand. Nothing too crazy, but I just wanted to bring some stuff up, just highlight a few things that I found interesting. So first off, some ages. Okay, Conjuro is 39 years old, and I believe this is his biological age. I don't know if this really wouldn't include the time jump, because if that was the case, he'd be biologically 19 years old. I think Conjuro looks a little bit older than that, so he's 39, but in terms of, like, you know, continuity, like the timelines, he would be like 59 right now. But yeah, he's 39 years old. Kokoro and Tom, and we find out some very heartening information about Tom. He is actually confirmed to be deceased. And I was like, ah, dang it, really? Oh man, I thought Oda was setting up something there. Now, to be fair, I mean, it's always possible he might be able to do something with it. He might always just like, well, yeah, he's revealed as dead in this data book, but if he wants to use him later on, but I don't think that's the case. I think he's pretty much confirmed to be dead, because Tom's ending was not something that we were really privy to. We knew that he was arrested and taken away on the sea train, and then Frankie tries to stop the sea train and he gets hit by it, which is why he, you know, had to rebuild himself even stronger as the 3-bottle cola man. But we never really knew what happened to Tom. It was stated that he went, you know, he's gonna get sent to Enies Lobby for judgment, and when we eventually get to Enies Lobby, it's stated that nobody, no pirate, no criminal that has ever passed the hollowed, you know, courthouse of Enies Lobby has ever been found innocent, not once. So that implies Tom was either, you know, sent to Impel Down, which probably not, because we didn't see him during Impel Down arc, or more than likely he was just executed, which it seems to be the case. So the situation with there is that Tom was 67 years old 10 years ago when he was executed, and then Kokoro currently is 72. So there's just an idea about Kokoro's age there. Jaguar D. Saul, at the time of his death, which was 22 years ago, he was 105. Keep in mind, giants live on average about 300 years. They can live longer than that, but, you know, that's like, you know, humans can live upwards of 100 as well, but, you know, it's more rare for humans to get up that old. So yeah, Saul was 100 at the time of his death, so when Aokiji froze him, so that's also confirming that. You know, because with Aokiji, you just never really know, because with his ice time and ice time capsules and abilities, you could just freeze them. It's not necessarily dead, and Aokiji was kind of a nice guy. He kind of let Robin leave and everything, so no, Saul is, you know, he's gone, he's dead. And yeah, so 105 for a giant, that's probably like in your 30s, you know, that's nothing to a giant. Olvia, we actually find out a lot of stuff about Olvia here. She is 33 22 years ago when she passed away, and then Clover was 85, so Clover was pretty old, the professor at Ohara. He was relatively old for a human, so I just wanted to throw that in there. As for some heights, so Saul was 64 feet tall, 19 meters. Now, that's nothing to the level that, like, Ors was or anything, and I believe even Dory and Broggy were, I think, a little bit taller. I think Dory and Broggy were in the 20-plus meter range, but certainly just, like, average height for a giant, because the shortest giants were revealed to be around 12 meters tall. Jaguar D. Saul was 19 meters, so that still fits in terms of maybe the upper end of the average, you know, for giants. So that's pretty much it. Oh, Diamante. I wanted to bring up Diamante. Diamante is the tallest member of the Doflamingo family, okay? It makes sense. He's a really tall, lanky dude and everything. And he is 17 feet, 3 inches, or 5.25 meters. So he's kind of in the ballpark around Katakuri. I don't know exactly how tall Katakuri was, but I believe he was like 17 feet or just somewhere around that general idea. So he's about the same height as Katakuri. So yeah, there's that. And then in terms of food, I don't usually cover the food because it's like not that big of a deal, but we always knew Frankie's least favorite food, at least the least favorite food that was always mentioned, was marshmallows, probably because they're soft and springy and weak, and he's super, you know, you have to have something a little bit more extreme. Which, come on, Frankie, though. Marshmallows are delicious. Screw you. You're my favorite Straw Hat, but come on, Frankie. How could you be dissing on marshmallows? But no, it was also added, his other least favorite food is curry from people that he doesn't trust. And I think that really applies to any type of food, really. Think of your worst enemy, the worst person you've ever met, somebody you just can't stand. And then, for some reason, you run into them, and they're like, here you go, I made you some curry. Like, that doesn't matter, it doesn't have to be curry. Like, here you go, I bought some McDonald's for you. Here you go, here's some delicious vitamin water for you to drink. It doesn't matter what it is, I'm not taking it, okay? But anyway, yeah, so that's just some information on heights and ages I thought was relevant, you know, just to add the just to add a little bit of introspection into these characters. So anyway, we're gonna start off with the man, the myth, the legend, the flamingo. Where do flamingos rank on your favorite bird chart? For me, they are my second favorite water-dwelling bird, right behind penguins. So yeah, just because everybody has a favorite bird chart, you know, everybody has the rank. It goes, for me, it goes penguin, flamingo, and toucan. But just, you know, let me know in yours below. But make sure to include a G in there. Wait, parakeet? No, not parakeet. Flamingo? Yeah, flamingo has a G in it. Yeah, we're good. Okay. So, this is something that I kind of assumed, but if you really think about it, it is a really big deal. So, Doflamingo's crime family was like the largest organized crime family in the entire New World, and by extension of that, pretty much the entire world, if we're being honest, because like the New World is like the hotbed for all this stuff. Like, you had those organized crime families in the West Blue that Beige was part of, but, you know, their influence didn't spread beyond that. You have Doflamingo right in the center of the action at Dressrosa in the New World, and he's producing the sad, and he's, you know, making the smiles, and he's distributing them to freaking Kaido. Plus, you got every other thing. Like, you got that lacquer that they found at the port under Dressrosa. You got weapons trade, you know, you probably like battleships, cannons, like anything you could possibly think of to wage a war against a country. Doflamingo was probably providing in some way, shape, or form, right? And so you don't really think about it too much because I'm always like, well, Doflamingo had a lot of influence, sure, but what about all the other Yonko? Like, Big Mom kinda has a large crime family as well, so does Kaido, right? And it's like, well, They do and they don't. It's like Big Mom has her own little kingdom, and yeah, she provides to other islands, like Fishman Island, she'll lend her service and everything, but it's not so much a crime family, the way that Doflamingo's crime family was, you know? And then Kaido, he rules over Wano, and that's just kind of one little area. Yeah, he might influence other islands, but it seems like Wano is really what he's focused on. Doflamingo was pretty much, you know, as much as influential as Kaido and Big Mom in probably the underworld circles, maybe even more trustworthy in that case. You know, it's like, oh, well, Doflamingo, he's Joker, he's this underworld broker. If you need something, and if you have the right amount of money, if you pay him the right amount of berries, he'll give them to you. You know, he'll get you. If you want a lot of guns or, you know, you need some mass destruction weapon to start a war against another country, you know, Big Mom, Kaido, they might try to screw you over there, but Doflamingo, he's more of a businessman. He's just like, haha, yes, well, mass destruction weapon, well, I have just the thing, and it can be yours for only 600 million berries. And if you pay him the 600 million, don't try to screw him over, don't try to double cross him or anything. You pay him the money, he'll give it to you, transaction solved, and that's it. Just don't try to go back and stab him in the back or anything, and you'll be set. Big Mom and Kaido and the other big players in the seas, you know, maybe you're not exactly 100% sure with that. You got to be careful with what you're offering. I mean, look at what happened with the Germa when they tried to ally with Big Mom, you know, and she's like, oh no, I'm gonna wipe them out and take all their science for myself. So yeah, that's the thing with Doflamingo though. So very, very influential. So this is something that's very troubling and you know, terrifying. After he murdered his own father, that's not the terrifying part, from a certain point onwards, Doflamingo began to laugh uncontrollably. Okay, that is creepy as hell, because we all know Doflamingo just is prone to laugh at just the most random times, you know, even when somebody does something that, like, legitimately pisses him off, or if, like, they're going to attack him, he's like, that's not him, like, having a good sense of humor or anything, or just taking everything in a lighthearted way. No, that's like a psychological disorder he has, you know, where all the crap he's seen as a child, everything that happened with his fall from grace at Marijois, and the way he was treated by the common folk, and what he had to do to his dad, and what happened with his mother, and then he was strung up and set on fire by an angry mob, and all that crap he witnessed. He developed this psychological, like, where he just laughs, and it works in his advantage, because he's super strong, and he's, you know, if you're going up against Doflamingo, like, Doflamingo, we got 1,000 men ready to invade Dressrosa and take you out, and you're expecting Doflamingo to be like, oh, I'm scared by that, and his reaction is just, you'd be like, okay, well, we're gonna back off now. That's rather terrifying. Even more terrifying that he can't really control it. It's just he does it. So go back now and watch the Dressrosa arc, and every single time Doflamingo laughs, imagine, you know, a puppy dies somewhere. You know, like, that's pretty terrifying, right? Now, Artur also brings up, and I'm gonna address this. I'm gonna probably just wait until the next chapter to address it now, although there's a break this week, so maybe I'll make a video about it before that. So, there's the whole deal with the last chapter and the smile reference that Hiyori made. That the reason that the people of Ebisu Town, they can do naught but smile is because of not Doflamingo, well, yeah, in connection, because of, you know, Kaido's smiles, which were provided by Doflamingo. And I and a lot of other people, when you first read that, you immediately think, like, oh, it's just a metaphor. It's a play on words. You get it, because the Ebisu Town people are doing nothing but smiling, and then they're called smiles, but you're thinking, oh, it's just a callback to what Doflamingo's, like, was saying and shit. But it seems to imply, especially from the official translations that we got of that chapter, no, it's meant to be a more literal explanation. And then you start looking at what the smiles are made out of. They're made out of that material called sad, which was on the gooey green, you know, ooze on Punk Hazard that Caesar was making. And it seems to imply, like, somehow the emotions of humans are connected directly to the function of smiles, to the creation of smiles, or the sad. I'm not really sure what this is all going to tie back to yet, but Artor's like, well, Doflamingo's smiling, and he's the one that made the smiles, or, his production was involved with that, so maybe that had a connection to that. Not sure about that, but we're just gonna have to wait and see, because it seemed to be like, the smiles and the people of Ebisu Town and the people that, their emotions and everything might be related to that. They might be a byproduct of that in some way. Like, not just the environment of Wano is polluted by Kaido's factories, but the people themselves have been corrupted or polluted in some way through said factories. So just keep that in mind. Yeah, he knows about the treasure that sleeps deep within Marijo. We already know that because of, we saw it in the, he's an Impel Down, and the assassin comes to eliminate him, and he's like, ha ha ha. Magellan. Oh, they're coming for me, aren't they? I know, there's an assassin up there. They know about, they know that I know that something sleeps up there. That's the brilliant thing about Doflamingo, okay? That's what makes him such a great villain, is he's like unlike any other character, because he is a celestial dragon that, fell from that place and is now basically acting against the celestial dragons and the world government and just kind of doing his own thing. Doflamingo is like the world government's worst nightmare. He is a Tenryubito turned against them. Okay, and he's not just a stupid Tenryubito like Charlos or whatever. Like, if Charlos decides to turn against the freaking world government, who cares? But it's Doflamingo. He's super intelligent, and he's wicked strong, and he's got Conqueror's Hockey, and he knows all these secrets, and he's like, I know everything. All the dirty laundry you don't want the world to know. I could spill the beans anytime. And they're like, oh, we gotta eliminate this guy somehow. That's the terrifying thing. So the last thing about this is Doflamingo and Viola had a complex, passionate relationship. They boned. For Viola, it was a relationship of both love and hate towards Doflamingo, which is the reason she called him Doffy. So I was a little bit always curious about that. So all of the top-ranking executives, like Pika, Diamante, Treble, always referred to as Doflamingo as Doffy. Whenever he gets attacked or something, Treble will be in the background like, ah, Doffy, no! And yet Viola calls him Doffy, and I'm like, well, what's the relevance of that? People already call him Doffy. And then you look into it, and it's like, no. Only, like, the top executives. Only, like, the original group, like Pika, Treble, Diamante, and Virgo when he was still alive. Those are, like, the only people that are allowed to refer to Doflamingo as Doffy. Like, if anybody else calls him that, it's, like, sort of like a death sentence sort of deal. And yet Viola, who is not a top executive, does call him that. And then Doflamingo is a pet name for her, Violet, not Viola. So yeah, it's an interesting relationship with them, considering that he's the one that basically barged in and removed Viola's father and everything, King Riku, and kept her around as part of the family. It just 10 years of that. I mean, probably, I don't know, a little bit of Stockholm syndrome in there. I don't know. Maybe a psychologist could look at that incident a little bit better, but it wasn't just like absolute hatred, like a 10-year period of just like, I hate Doflamingo. She eventually settled on that, but it's just like, there were a few moments throughout those 10 years where she had a relationship with him, and it was rather passionate, and it's just like, oh, okay, where's this going, It's, love is a weird thing. Okay, then we get next to the other top executives, so Treble, Pika, and Diamante. The most we find out about is Treble. Treble already had a crime gang going by the time he met Doffy. This makes sense. I would imagine, because Treble, I believe, was like 18 years old. He was the eldest. Treble was like 18 or 19. Diamante was like 14. Pika was like 10. Doffy was like, I think Pika was 9, and Doffy was like 10, and Virgo was 10. He was the same age as Doffy. So it made sense that by the time Treble found them in the North Blue, he already probably had that base at Spider Miles and everything, like that landfill. Like, that was just the Treble gang's base, and they were probably just a minor gang back then when they met Doflamingo in their early days. Probably just a bunch of street ruffians or whatever, probably just doing minor, like, burglary and maybe assassination jobs and stuff like that. But then they met Doflamingo, and they saw his potential, and like, oh, he has conquerors and everything, and they became a little bit more organized, and they all, like, bent the knee to Doflamingo, like, you will guide us to greater heights. And he did, becoming the boss of this crime family. I can kind of see this as like a rise to power. Like, Doflamingo at the age of 10 consumes the Ito no Mi, and he gets a rifle, and he begins being the dawn of this huge, like a Dawn Flamingo kind of thing. This dawn of this, like, minor crime family out in some, you know, boondocks of the North Blue in this junk heap, but then slowly builds them up to be like, okay, now they're the biggest crime family in the North. And then they go into the New World and become the biggest crime family there, and then basically the biggest crime family in the world. So that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. But that's probably where it all started. Like, Treble, you get the idea that Treble laid out the groundwork, because Doffy was pretty young. So, you know, he's like, I laid out the groundwork, I have everything to set for you, so you're not starting at, like, level 0, you're starting at, like, level 3. So it gives you a little bit of an up, but, you know, you have to take it from there. And take it from there, he did. He ate his Beta Beta Nomi, the sticky fruit. He ate that a long time ago, probably, you know, when he was a child. And by the way, Pika and Treble and Diamante's backstories are all very similar when they were children. They were just poor kids, and they eventually ended up meeting and joining together in life of crime, and then that's how that went there. So Treble did find the Ito Ito Nomi a little bit before he met Doffy, but he couldn't eat it because he already had, you know, his fruit. Don't know why, maybe because Virgo didn't have a devil fruit, maybe just he didn't want to eat it. Then you have Pika and Diamante that both have devil fruits. Don't know when they consumed theirs, it doesn't really say, but they both had their devil fruits for a while. And they're both very good at using them, so they probably had them for decades in order to adeptly use them the way they do. Like, Pika is able to, like, merge with the rock and turn into mountains, and Diamante can use his flag fruit pretty well. Yeah. Treble was very famished during his childhood. Yeah, just poor childhood. So all of the top executives had a bounty of 99 million before it was frozen, and it was frozen 10 years ago, when, you know, when Doflamingo became a member of the Shichibukai, and when he became when he took over Dressrosa, when he became the king. So yeah, that's the situation there. 99 million, which makes me think, like, there's reasons for that. Like, there's a reason, there's something keeping them back from reaching that 100 million. There's another one too in here that I'm going to address, and it's something else. Like, you know, people, how exactly do bounties, how do they get decided? So we'll see. But yeah, 99 million for each of them, just shy of 100 mil. Diamante, basically the same deal. The one interesting thing about Diamante that I found was and oh, by the way, just like Treble, he ate the Hira Nomi when he was very young. So, he actually had a weak point that I don't think was ever mentioned or exploited throughout all of Dressrosa, and his weak point is his forehead. And so if you go back and look at Diamante, every time you see him, he's always wearing like a hat or something covering a lot of his forehead. Now, I don't exactly know what that indicates. Like, if you turn out, like, you rip off his forehead and, like, you could see his brain pulsating, and just, like, it's like in a video game. It's like, attack the obvious weak point! Bam! Or he takes off his hat and his forehead's, like, super big, and it's, like, you know, bigger than mine even, and it's just, like, maybe, like, an obvious weak point. I don't exactly know. Or if it's just he's sensitive with getting hit in the forehead. I'm not exactly sure what that indicates. But yeah, he had a weak forehead, and it was never really brought up because the way he got defeated was Kyros slashed him with a sword, and then he fell backwards, and then he hit the back of his skull on Scarlet's grave, and that's what conked him out, or, you know, maybe paralyzed him from the neck down, who knows, and that's what defeated him. So never really brought up, but he did have a weakness of his forehead. Pika is the one we find literally, like, nothing about, aside from his bounty, which was also 99 million before it was frozen. Trained hard to do his armament hockey. We all know about Pika. Roshinade, design is based off of Alex DeLarge from A Clockwork Orange. If you haven't seen it, I know it's an interesting movie from Kubrick. But anyway, yeah, there's nothing else really about Roshinade. He ate the Nagi Nomi, the Calm fruit, after he separated from Doflamingo, which I believe what happened there was Doffy killed his dad, and then after that, in the ensuing chaos, you know, Roshinate and Doflamingo got separated, and then at some point he ate the Nagi Nomi. I can imagine he was just really... You love how back in the day, devil fruits were referred to as, like, really rare. Remember when Captain Morgan was talking about devil fruits in the beginning of the story, and it was like, oh yeah, they're really rare, and then, like, he's like, oh yeah, I'm just walking around in the Grand Line, oh, there's a tree with a devil fruit on it, you know? they're not very common in the four blues, but when it comes to the Grand Line, they're like freaking everywhere. Because you'd figure that's where most people that would have the powers would end up dying, and then that's where they would end up getting reincarnated, you figure. So yeah, he had the Nagi Nagi no Mi at that point, then he met Sengoku and began his career as a Marine. So now, other members of the family, most of this stuff we already knew about. Sugar, we knew about her, you know, her biological age and everything like that. She ate the Hobby Hobby no Mi, it froze her age. We already have seen, you know, Oda drew what she would look like if she was, like, biologically 22, and she's a beauty just like Monet. One thing interesting with her is that despite her small child, you know, state and her stature, she's also extremely fast because she was able to outspeed the Tontadas. So that makes me think, like, maybe physically she looks like a little girl, but maybe she could still develop her body in the same way it would be if she was 22. What I mean by that is, you know, she can maybe train a lot with, like, practicing her speed and her strength, and her physical body will never change. You know, she could lift, like, 300 pounds a day and be super ripped, but that won't ever change her physical body, but she'll still have the strength, because that seems to imply, like, yeah, you know, she moves a lot. She's the body of a 10-year-old girl, but 10-year-old girls don't move, like, faster than Tontadas. You know, that's some. So maybe she must go through some training, and it's just her body never changes, but she still retains the strength and the speed and the stamina and everything she would if she was biologically 22. So there you go. Giola, she raised Derringer by herself and raised him to be rather effeminate, which is the way he's designed. Derringer's original design was supposed to be a little bit more rough and tough, like a street gang punk kind of thing. And then, you know, Oda decided to go with, like, the earrings and the outfit and the leggings and the high heel shoes and all that stuff, which I think works for Derringer. Let's see, he's a fighting fish, half fishman hybrid. We already knew that. His bounty, we didn't get Jola's bounty. I don't think maybe she had one, but he had a bounty of 15 million. Now, 15 million, not really all that much, but you have to keep in mind this was 10 years ago when it was frozen, and he was only 6, and possibly he was even less than that when he got a bounty. So a little kid getting a bounty of 15 million, Derringer was as much of a threat to the world government at age 6 as Buggy is right now, I believe, in his early 40s. So don't screw with Derringer. He's a threat. Does that make Derringer seem more badass or Buggy seem less badass? I don't know which. But yeah, interesting thing there, you know, 15 million for him. Senor Pink, you know, he had a very unique devil fruit that allowed him to swim. It was the only devil fruit that allows you to quote unquote swim, except not in the ocean or not in the water, but you could swim on dry land, in rock or in the, you know, grass, or maybe in plant life in some way. As long as it's not actual liquid, you're fine. He used this ability to infiltrate enemy bases and for assassination. I believe you can imagine how easy that would be. You know, he could just be, honestly, kind of like Naruto, like Jutsu. Like, remember the when Jiraiya infiltrated the city in the rain, and he, like, attacked people, and he could just, like, because there's water everywhere, he could just have a toad come out and, like, grab the enemy with the toad's tongue and just drag them into the water or whatever. That's kind of what probably, you know, Senor Pink could do. Can you drown in the earth? That's an interesting question. Let's say there's, like, an enemy base, and they're like, okay, we need to break into the enemy base, and Senor Pink's like, I got this, and he dives into the freaking earth, like, super hard-boiled, and he's swimming through the earth, and then there's, like, there's, like, 2 guards out front with, like, rifles, and, like, did you hear something? And then, like, Senor Pink doesn't even have to, like, jump out and punch them. He could just, like, pull out their freaking, like, feet and just, like, drag them under the, and just drag them under the earth. And what happens if he drags them into the earth and just lets go and just leaves them under the ground? Or maybe, would he be able to drag people under? I don't know. But it doesn't matter even if he wouldn't been able to, because he could have just pulled up, like, behind them and just, like, snapped their neck and just, hi. All you hear is the suck of a pacifier, and then crack! Your life is over. The string of your life has been severed. So that's it. That's Senor Pink there. Oh, with razor wire. That would also come in handy. Like, Senor Pink just wraps razor wire. They're assassins, guys. They're part of a crime family, okay? This is gonna get dark. He just takes some razor wire and just swims and just pops up and just... You know? Okay. So, his bounty was 58 million. Some other little fun fact about him was that, Russian, which is, White Russian, the name of a drink, her name was originally supposed to be Margarita, which is also the name of a cocktail. So, don't know why Oda ended up going with Russian, as in White Russian for the name of that, but both the name of an alcoholic beverage. So, there's the origin of that. Machweiss. Alright, so, I like this. Machweiss was like the one member of the Doflamingo family that we didn't really focus on. I actually forgot about his existence, really. Up until his fight with Hyrudine, I was just like, who is that guy again? Oh yeah, he's that guy that can get really heavy. Because all the other members of the family had something going for them. Like Lao Ji was this like senile old man, but he could also like beat the crap out of you. He's like a Master Roshi thing, and he had the whole appeal of doing the Jai! The whole thing with the G's. And Derringer was this half fishman, half human hybrid, and Jola with the art ability, that was kind of trippy and abstract. See what I did there? All of the executives, the top executives. Gladys, I'm gonna come on record and say, I think Gladys's design is one of the best villain designs in all of One Piece. Okay? You can say whatever you want about Gladys as a villain, because he wasn't like that prominent, but he looks awesome, doesn't he? He has like the top hat and the gears on his outfit. He's like a steampunky look. I love Gladys's design. But anyway, yeah, Machweiss, though, he was just kind of like the fat guy that wore a biker cap, and that was his character. He didn't really resonate with me. He didn't really like speak to me as like, oh, this is an interesting character. So for that reason, I think maybe Oda felt that way too. We get like a bunch of backstory about Machweiss, okay? So he, unlike a lot of the other members of the family, it seemed like he actually had a relatively nice childhood in terms of like not living in poverty. But his childhood wasn't great though, because he consumed the Tun fruit at an early age, and people like sought him out to use him, because you can imagine like a fruit like that, like, oh, you can, eliminate people, you can wipe out entire structures, like literally, you could just like, all right, Machweiss, little 8-year-old Machweiss has the Tun fruit, just like, we need you to infiltrate that fortress and destroy it. Like, okay, what do I do? Oh, not much. And they just pick him up and just throw him, and he just goes into like 10,000 tons and just boom, and just levels the entire building like that, and just crushes all the enemy opposition. You could use his ability to get rid of evidence. You could use it for easy excavation jobs. Maybe one of the people that were searching after Machweiss were like the foreman of a construction crew. Like, maybe his dad worked in construction. It's like, son, we need you. It's like, Dad, I don't want to work in construction. And he just ran away. But yeah, that's Machweiss, right? Something I didn't even realize when I was reading the story, this is weird. Did you guys know he had a tail? Like, yeah, you see it when he is a little kid, and when he's an adult, he has like a beaver tail. And, Artor's here is like, oh, he's listed as a human, which means that the tail is likely just part of his outfit and cosmetic. I don't think that's the case, because this is One Piece we're talking about here. If you want to come to me and say, yeah, there's a human that has a tail, or it was just a freak mutation, I'd be like, okay, I'll go along with it. So I think it's an actual tail, because he has it his entire life. He has it ever since he was a little kid, when he was in his 30s, and he was a little bit more buff. He was Macho Vice. They used to call him Macho Vice, but he had a little bit too many burgers and some pizza and some ice cream, and well, you know how it is, and he just got a little bit more plump. So that's the origin of, how he went from gadoosh to gadoosh. But yeah, that tail, I'm gonna assume that's a real tail. He just happens to have a beaver tail. And when he's fat, it's kind of smaller, so you don't really see it that much. You don't really see it prominently in the last arc that he was in the context of Dressrosa, but it's there in the past if you look for it, so weird. He had a bounty of 11 million, which was, I think, the lowest out of all of the members at that time before it was frozen. Yeah, except for Jola's, which for some reason it wasn't stated what Jola's bounty was. Maybe she never had one, who knows? But yeah, and also it was stated that he was like one of the first members of the extended family after the original 5, after Treble, Diamante, Pika, Virgo, Doffy. That's like one of the first people they met was Machweiss, and so he's been with the family for a very, very long time. So then we get to Lao Ji. Lao Ji, of course, has the Jokin fighting style, and a lot of his jokes just revolve around him being old. Like, he's like, I can't see very well. And like the Tontadas are attacking him, and it goes into like Matrix, like bullet time. Like Cub is about to stab him with his lance, and he's like, takes out his glasses, little bifocals, and puts them on it. Bam! And then slaps it down at light speed. Or, like, he'll die in mid-battle. Like, he's like, I'm gonna take you down! Oh! And he just dies. Like, literally dies. The soul just leaves his body, and his soul, like, hey, where am I? And the soul just goes back into his body. So it's like, it's basically one long-running old person joke that Oda's doing, you know, with Lao G, which is funny, because Lao G's only, like, 70. I mean, we've seen plenty of older characters that don't act nearly as senile as he does. You know, Clover was 15 years older than him, and he seemed to be about his wits. So yeah, he does exhibit, symptoms of, like, Alzheimer's sometimes, so maybe he has that, who knows. So that's Lao G. I was hoping it was going to explain why he has bunny ears in the past, like, such a weird thing to, is it because Usagi, which is bunny, Usagi has a J in it? He also has his beard when he was younger, also looks like a G. But why the bunny ears? I don't get it. Is that a joke? It was never mentioned. I was surprised it was not mentioned. Why does Lao G have bunny ears? Like, is he a furry? Which, I'm fine with that. Hashtag not a furry personally, but, you know, I'm okay with that. I just wanted an explanation, you know? If I don't remember, if I went down to my grandparents' house and my granddad was wearing bunny ears on his head, I'd just be like, okay, there's a backstory behind this, isn't there, Grampy? You know? Anyway, moving on to Gladys. I already mentioned I liked his design. He was kind of an idiot because he was fooled that he was the one that thought that Kinemon was Doflamingo when Kinemon put on his disguise. And it was actually, I never even knew this, but a lot of people actually considered it like Kinemon's clothes fruit actually mentally messed around with people. Like, if he put on an outfit, it would, like, make them think that it was, like, that person, like, as a disguise. That doesn't seem to be the case, and I never even considered that as a possibility. Like, you know, if Kinemon mimics Doflamingo's outfit, people might actually seriously think that he's Doflamingo. That's not how his fruit works, though. It's really just, like, Gladys being dumb and thought that he was Doflamingo, so that's just chalk that up to there. Not the brightest bulb out there, but he looked cool. And at the end of the day, he didn't really do much. He's a very stressed out guy. You know, he's always just, his blood pressure's probably always up, and he's always blowing his top, his gaskets for, is that the reason why he has, like, the gears on him, like the gaskets, like, you know, pop a gasket or blow a gasket? Maybe that's the reason, that's the design there. I don't know. You never know with Oda with these references. But yeah, that's Gladys. He had a 31 million berry bounty, and Lao G had a 61 million berry bounty before it was frozen. And lastly, we get the name of their ship, which was the Numancia Flamingo, which is an old Hispanic city that was conquered by the Romans. Interesting little fun fact. Now, that was their ship before they became, like, the leaders of Dressrosa. So, you know, after they made Dressrosa their home base, they probably weren't traveling a lot as a family anymore. They probably weren't all getting on their boat and, like, sailing to a new island. Maybe they would send, like, the Vanguard unit, like, Baby 5, Buffalo, go deal with that over there. Or Machvice, go to this island and, like, level it because they screwed with me. They cheaped out on their payment, so go eliminate them. That kind of stuff. But they're not, like, getting all on the boat and leaving the island anymore. So those are the members of the Doflamingo family. Yeah, so that's most of the information we got there. Pretty cool stuff. Pretty cool stuff. Now, we got a few more things to go on here. I guess we could talk about Fox. Okay, listen. I'm going to make a video about the Davy Backfight arc. At some point. I don't know. Alright, I decided to give it another shot. It's my least favorite arc in One Piece, but I felt like it's not fair to just completely act like it doesn't exist. I will talk about the Davy Backfight arc, and I'll talk about what I don't like about it, and maybe give it a second chance and stuff like that, you know? So, we'll hold tight for that, but for whatever reason, Oda decided, yeah, Machvice and Foxy. Those are the two characters that we would love to know more about. You were half right with Machvice. Okay. So, Foxy used to be a boxer back in his early 20s. You know, he was, yeah, you gotta go hard, Fox. You know, Mickey was raising him up, and he was beating his way through the One Piece boxing circuit, which does exist because IDEO was part of it. You know, so we already know that the boxing league in the Grand Line exists. So he was going through and just dun-dun, 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 you know, and that's him. But he was eventually, his boxing license was revoked, so that implies there's a boxing commission in the One Piece world. Just, alright, like I just love shit like that, because it's like, here are Yonko wiping out everybody, the world government and their power over the world, the Marines ruling, you know, like sending out their ships to, you know, corner off the pirates, but then in this one island, the boxing commission is gathering together. Like, okay, this is the, 8th meeting of the Boxing Commission. We're going to review Foxy, the Silver Fox's license. You stand of being accused of bringing illegal weapons in the boxing ring, so we're going to have an inquiry. Like, that's such a weird... I mean, it makes sense. I mean, you gotta have other stuff going on in the One Piece world, and that makes it world building, the palpableness, but okay. So, yeah, Foxy brought weapons into the ring one too many times. He got caught, and that's how his boxing career ended. That reminds me of a joke from The Simpsons. There was an episode in season 8 where Homer becomes a boxer. This was right around the period in The Simpsons when Homer started doing... I mean, he's always been doing, like, any random job and stuff like that, but, you know, he was a boxer in this episode. Freaking string. And Mo, the bartender, was like another former boxer, and he was teaching Homer kind of like as his Mickey figure, right? And he breaks out his old, like, boxing gloves, and there was like barbed wire on them, and Homer's like, what's that? And Mo's like, oh yeah, I call that the stinger. Yeah, they don't let you do that anymore. They don't let you use that anymore. So that's the kind of shit probably Foxy was doing, like wrapping barbed wire around his gloves and like BAM, you know. So he got caught. And then he began his life as a pirate, and at age 28, he first learned of the legend of Pirate Davy Jones and his infamous locker, you know, where he kept his socks. So, yeah, he learns about the Davy back fight. He starts exploiting the rules of the Davy back fight. Not really exploiting it, just using it. Not that many pirates utilize the Davy back. You'd figure, like, if this was such, like, an ironclad rule, and I guess that's one of the problems I have with the Davy back fight arc. It's like, okay, you're gonna introduce this game amongst pirates, and when one pirate crew is challenged to a Davy back, that's like a challenge of their honor. And that's why you can't, I mean, you can just say, screw you, I'm not playing your games, and just wipe them out or just retreat. But that's like your pride as a sailor is on the line. So that's why the Straw Hats went with it, and that's why so many pirate crews accept Davy back fights. But it was never brought up after that. It was like, it was never addressed or never played again after that arc. I think it had like a throwaway line like once. That was the freaking Ice Hunter arc. That's what it was. When they come upon Puzzle's ship and they see it doesn't have a sail, and they're like, oh, that might be a Davy back fight. I think that was the last time it was mentioned. That was an anime only filler. So, like, and it's like, okay, if that's how it works, and if this is how the Davy Pack exists in One Piece, why don't you just go up to Kaido and just challenge him to a Davy back? Or go up to Big Mom and challenge her to a Davy back, and just be like, I challenge you to a Davy back, 7-on-7, and she can't use her whole crew. She can only use, like, a certain number, okay? That's the whole point of the Davy back, like, not the entire crew fighting, just a select number. Go up to freaking Kaido, challenge him to, like, a 10-on-10 Davy back, and he'll send out Kaido, King, and Queen, and everybody. But that's the thing, though. The games don't have to be physical fighting. They could be, like, that's how Foxy and his trickery managed to succeed and win. Like, he's like, oh, we'll do a barrel race around Wano or whatever. Like, hey, you're the one that established the concept. I mean, like, Foxy and Oda, like, you know, that's what exists. Why don't the Straw Hats just challenge Kaido to a Davy back? And he has to accept, because the honor of the Beast Pirates might be called into question if he doesn't accept. You know, I don't know. But anyway, I'll be making a video about that, so that's whatever. He has an unsullied record of 920 victories in the Davy back, mostly because of his trickery and his slow fruit power, which I'll be making a video about that too, don't worry. But yeah, he only had a bounty of 24 million, so it's like the world government could see him kind of screwing around with his little Davy back games and shit, and it's like, yeah, well, he's just a low-time trickster. He's, you know, he's the silver fox, or like a silver tongue, and that's how he used it. He was very good at manipulating people, and so that's really all about Foxy there. But yeah, we'll be expanding on him a little bit more. We got some stuff about Tangent, not that interesting, really. You know, Long Ring Longland was based off of Mongolia, because all the islands that the Straw Hats go to are based off of various countries or continents and stuff, like Wano, obviously, feudal Japan, Dressrosa, obviously, like Spain, with a little bit of, like, Rome mixed in there with the Colosseum. Transylvania is, Thriller Bark. So, Mongolia was Long Ring Longland. Didn't know that. The people of Water 7, they mention all of the shipwrights at Galilab, but nothing really new. We have Iceberg's design was originally supposed to be a little bit different, and Iceberg was originally supposed to be a little bit more gruff and like serious, but that's just not how it went. And the blueprints of Pluton were handed down in the secrets for centuries at Water 7 in order for them to create a new weapon in case the original Pluton was awakened. But now that weapon is, because Frankie burned those blueprints, they're gone forever unless somebody made copies of it, but I don't think they would have done that, because that was the whole point, keep it on the down low. So yeah. Jaguar D. Saul. So Saul was originally meant to be a Marine Commodore. Oda decided to up him up to Vice Admiral. This might be because he decided to make all Giants Vice Admiral class, and I believe all Giants are. There's John Giant. Is John Giant a Vice Admiral? I want to say he's a captain. John Giant, though, is one of the much shorter Giants, though. But all of the members of the proper Giant squad that we see, like LaCroix and Rons and Jaguar D. Saul, they were all, like, actual proper Giants, and they were all Vice Admirals. So maybe Oda decided, yeah, I'm gonna make all Vice Admirals, like, of that size, that level. Let's see. Saul is a member of the D-Clan, despite not being human, given how he isn't the same race as the others that we know of. Oda asks, how are the bloodlines of the D-Clan connected? Implying that the D-Clan, they're all one family, but some are human and some are giants, as in the case with Saul. And I wouldn't be surprised if Saul was not the only giant in the D-Clan. The way I imagine it is, they are a family, but not tied directly by blood. I think that's just the D-Clan a long time ago were a group of people that got together that had a similar interest to oppose the world government. And some were humans, maybe some were minks, maybe some were giants. Well, some were definitely giants, and then some were fishmen or mermen or whatever. And they just, throughout the lines, they carried it down. And we've only seen, most of the Ds we've seen are humans, but that doesn't mean that, there's other species out there that have the D in their names. So that's all I really took from that. The last character really to mention here is Olvia, Robin's mother. So I already mentioned, she was at the time of her death, she was 33. And we finally got a bounty for her, because we always got this. This was her wanted poster up until this point, where it's, of course, oh, how convenient that the rip in the page happens to be right there. Yes, how convenient. But no, her bounty was 79 million, the same as Robin's. So that's something interesting. Like, I guess when you are a scholar that is directly studying the poneglyphs and is super, super close to discovering the secret, because they say that, the scholars of Ohara were incredibly close at unraveling the secret of the world and the Void Century, but they just didn't make it in time. So I guess whenever you study the poneglyphs and you get super, like, freaking this thin of a close chance to figuring out the Void Century and kind of revealing all the deep, dark secrets of the world government that they don't want you to know about. 79 million berry bounty. That's like the default. It's just like 80 million. You can't tack on that extra one, can you? It's like somebody in the world government's like, no, has to be 79 for studying the poneglyphs. You think that number should be way higher considering the threat. Now, granted, when Robin had it, it made sense. Robin's bounty was, when she was 8, and that's crazy. Like a 79 million berry bounty on a little kid, especially from what we saw with Derringer. Big Mom's bounty, I believe the first bounty she got, wasn't it 50 million when she was a little girl, and then that was up to 500 million later. But yeah, at any rate, 79 for a little girl, rather impressive, but you think the older that Robin got, just the fact that she was older now, oh, sorry, my computer kind of, went on standby there. That's a long video. You'd figure that the older that she got and the more likely she was going to be to survive, because you figure, okay, she's a little girl, she might not last very long. She's going to have to rely on a lot of other people to help her out. Give her a bounty of 79 million, and that'll entice most people to turn her in. But you figure, okay, now she's like late 20s, and she's an adult now, and she can handle herself, and she's not worried. She's not a scared little girl anymore. I think we should raise her, and she still knows all this shit about the poneglyphs. I think we should raise her bounty a few hundred million. You know what I mean? And her bounty right now is like, I think 100 and, it's not even, it's like 130. It's not super, super high. It should really be higher. I think her bounty should be like at least 500 million. The information that Robin has, and that's not just because like Robin is my waifu. It's like, the information Robin has is like detrimental if it gets out. She literally has information on where 2 ancient weapons are. She knows where Pluton is, and she knows where freaking Poseidon is. And yet, 130 million. Okay, so that's that. Next pack we're gonna get is gonna be all about Ennie's Lobby, so we're gonna get some information on CP and also on the Corradia Coliseum, so we'll find out stuff about Rebecca, I guess. Pfft, who cares? We also got this last page, which was just a page on some random characters we saw during Impelled Down. I find this interesting just because, you know, I love Impelled Down. That's my favorite arc of One Piece. And we got Dobby Ibandombo. He was the guy that was in level 6, so we don't know what Dobby did, but it was probably pretty screwed up. He was in level 6. He was the guy that went down there. I think he was one of the people that was like heckling Hancock when Hancock went down there to see Ace, and all the prisoners were like, "Hey baby, you smell good!" I think he was like one of those guys. We also have Zoto, who is a Marine lieutenant, and also down here we have Akahende, and he was also he was a Marine, he was a Rear Admiral. He had a pretty high rank. He was one of the people that went to go chase after the escapees when they were trying to get through the Gates of Justice, when Mr. 2 opened up the Gates of Justice for them. Muchana was the doctor that was trying to figure out, you know, like Mr. 2, who was disguised as Hannibal, went to go get a cure for Luffy's poisoning. And a lot of these guys just have pun names, like Cairo Curio. He was one of the frozen prisoners in level 5 in Luffy's cell, and his name literally translates out to like a request for a pocket heater. So it's like, please give me a pocket heater because it's freezing. Frankos and Sukhanov and Usakov were all members of New Kama Land here. So that's just some information there. Let's see, he escaped out with the others. Oda points out he has a cool tattoo of a dragon. He does have a cool tattoo of a dragon, yes. And then Sukhanov and Usakhanov, they were like, you know, they were wearing like the reindeer outfit and the bunny outfit, you know, respectively there. And they were dancing along with Ivankov there with their dance number. So yeah, you know, nothing really all that fascinating, interesting. It's just Impel Down's my favorite arc, and I'm just like, I'm glad to know more characters from then. Okay, cool. We know the name of that random newcomer that was chilling out drinking beer in New Kama Land. Okay, now my life is fully complete. So, that's that. That's VIVRE card number 9. I think more information than last time. We didn't get a lot of information last time, or the one before that with the SBS. The last SBS really was kind of sparse, but this was some good information on the Doflamingo family. And I was trying to make this video less than 50 minutes, and we're 51 minutes into it. But yeah, it turned out pretty good, I think. So thank you again to Artor for the translations. Thanks to everybody for sticking with me for this long. I'm gonna get going. But yeah, and practice on your string work, guys. Practice on your. I bet, you know, Doflamingo could have always done that. He could have always, like, if the crime family thing doesn't work out, if he manages to, Doffy, let me tell you something. If you can escape Impel Down, if you can get away from the assassin, if you can duck Magellan, and you can get out of Impel Down, just disguise yourself, and then just spend the rest of your days just doing string tricks on some random island in the South Blue where nobody knows who you are, and spend your retirement that way. You have hope. You have a shot for it, Doffy. You have a chance for freedom. All right, later, everybody. Tekking signing out.